A slot machine flashes and crowds gather. Players become convinced luck is spiraling out of control. Yet the real story is what the casino system registers in that moment. The system does not record fortune. It records an anomaly that quietly triggers special scrutiny. Around 5% of sessions log clustered wins, setting off back-end flags and metadata tags that never show on the floor. The players see momentum. The system sees deviation, something it remembers long after the attention fades. So, when a machine really runs hot, what is actually changing beneath the surface? A cluster of wins draws attention. Players gather, eyes fixed on the spinning reels, convinced they are witnessing something rare. Credits stack up. The same machine pays out again, and then again within minutes. A small crowd forms, each person hoping to catch a streak before it slips away. On the surface, it feels like pure momentum, a run of luck that seems to defy the odds. This moment feels exciting, but behind the scenes, the system records nothing about fortune. It tracks only outcomes, frequencies, and patterns. Slot machines run on certified random number generators, with each spin independent from the last. There is no memory, no awareness of how many wins or losses came before. Still, when wins cluster together, it stands out. Not because the machine is lucky, but because the frequency of payouts breaks from the expected rhythm. This kind of clustering occurs naturally in about 5% of sessions, a statistical quirk rather than a sign of manipulation or design. Deviation is what the back-end detects. Most machines pay back between 85% and 98% over millions of spins, but in the short term, streaks can and do happen. The system does not see these moments as streaks or momentum. It sees deviation, a brief surge that registers against the backdrop of millions of ordinary sessions. The excitement on the floor is real, but the system perspective is colder, more mechanical. It is not searching for luck. It is measuring difference. While players read meaning into every win, the back-end records only data points: time, amount, sequence, and density. What matters is not the thrill or disappointment, but the statistical footprint left behind. A session that draws a crowd for its apparent heat is already being measured against baselines and thresholds, invisible to anyone standing nearby. The surface spectacle is just that, a spectacle. The real story is written in the numbers, and in how those numbers begin to drift from the usual pattern. A surge in clustered payouts does not trigger alarms or alert casino staff. Instead, the back-end analytics engine quietly applies a set of statistical tests to the stream of outcomes. The most common approach is a moving window analysis, comparing the last few minutes of play against the machine's established averages. When the number of wins or the total payout within that window exceeds a certain threshold, often measured in standard deviations or sigma from the norm, the session is flagged. This threshold is not arbitrary. For many systems, a deviation of more than 2 or 3 standard deviations from the mean is enough to warrant attention. Such a spike is rare, occurring in only a small percentage of sessions. But when it appears, the machine's data segment is tagged internally. This tag is not visible on the machine itself. It does not change the way the game plays, and it does not alter the experience for anyone standing nearby. The label exists only in the back end, attached to the session's metadata. It might be stored as a simple flag labeled deviation flag true, or as a more granular score labeled anomaly high. These labels are not about wins or losses. They are about deviation, moments when the normal statistical flow is interrupted. Once a session is tagged, its data is treated differently. The flagged segment is indexed and stored with extra detail, sometimes extending the retention period from a week to several months. This allows for later review, compliance checks, and pattern analysis across the entire casino floor. The label does not disappear when the machine returns to its usual rhythm. It becomes a permanent part of the session's data history, locked in for future analysis. No one on the floor is aware of this shift. The only evidence is buried in the metadata, an invisible marker that separates a routine session from an outlier. The moment a machine is tagged for unusual clustering, the system's response is immediate but silent. Standard polling intervals, once every 10 seconds, drop to sub-second checks. Each spin, each payout, each credit change is now logged with greater precision. The backend captures not only the outcomes, but the precise timing of every event, building a denser record for later analysis. Retention policies stretch as well. Data that would have cycled out after a week is now held for up to 90 days, sometimes longer, depending on regulatory requirements and the severity of the anomaly. On the casino floor, none of this is visible. Players crowd around, convinced the streak is a sign, proof that the machine is on a run, and that past wins make future wins more likely. The gambler's fallacy takes hold. Each new arrival brings stories of luck and loss, feeding the sense that something special is happening. The belief spreads quickly, amplified by every credit that stacks and every cheer from the crowd. Excitement accumulates while the system behaves neutrally. Yet the system does not share this optimism. It does not recognize heat or momentum. It sees only a statistical deviation that must be documented in finer detail. The machine's internal logic remains unchanged. The random number generator continues to operate without memory. But the telemetry grows deeper, and the session's digital footprint expands, documented rather than celebrated. This mismatch between visible excitement and invisible escalation of monitoring defines the reality of hot machines. Players chase luck, thinking the window is open. The system, meanwhile, is already preserving every detail, preparing the data for scrutiny that will outlast the crowd. What feels like opportunity on the floor becomes in the back end a record of deviation marked for long-term review. Memory, not myth, is what remains. Like the video, share it with others who gamble, and subscribe for more observational casino exposure content. Flag sessions do not disappear into the noise. Once a machine's data segment is tagged for deviation, it enters a different class of memory within the system. Each flagged session is indexed by machine ID, timestamp, and the measured degree of deviation from baseline. This creates a permanent record, isolated from ordinary play, and retained for months, sometimes up to a year, depending on regulatory requirements. These records are not static. They feed into a growing archive, where flagged sessions from hundreds or thousands of machines are compared side by side. Analytical dashboards generate heat maps, dense visual grids that map every session's deviation score across weeks and months. A single night's cluster of wins becomes a colored square in a matrix, its intensity hinting at how far outcomes strayed from the expected. Over time, these patterns reveal outliers, recurring disruptions, and periods of unusual activity that would be invisible to any single player or staff member on the floor. Archival indexing is automated and relentless. Each new flagged session is cross-referenced against historical data for that machine and for others in the same bank. If a particular machine ID shows repeated deviations over several months, it stands out in the system's review process. Heat maps make these patterns visible at a glance, surfacing machines or time periods that warrant closer scrutiny. This process is driven not by suspicion or rumor, but by the statistical record alone. The system's memory is cold and impartial. The excitement, the cheers, the stories of luck all vanish as soon as the crowd moves on. What remains is the archived record, a session marked for deviation, preserved in a database, compared and recompared as new data arrives. The system does not remember luck. It remembers difference. The story of a hot machine is not written in legend, but in the permanent logic of statistical anomaly. If this was useful, like the video, share it with others who gamble, and subscribe for more observational casino exposure content. Every spin that draws a crowd becomes a permanent record, not a legend. Today, casino systems archive every anomaly for years, long after the excitement fades. What feels random on the floor is cataloged with purpose. The house never forgets. If you found this useful, like the video, share it with others who gamble, and subscribe for more observational casino exposure content.